Yeah. Same story. Same story. Good morning. Okay. Gentlemen, I'm going to start the more learning sponsors. Okay. Year of Learning, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bar Pinchas. Friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev. Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Cohen. Those who were inspired by Rebbetzin Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka, Bat Meshulam Yisachar. Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinzer Bat Yosef Chaim Vechava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer Vechana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi V'Tzipora, Easter Ben Yoel Moshe Cohen Vechana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutfred Bud Meyer, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, Friends and family of Arthur Ridholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, Friends and family of Siggy Bestler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov, Friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aharon. A month of learning by Haran and Mel Haller in memory of her mother, Malka Rachel Bat Yehuda Leib, Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her father, Yaakov Yitzchak Ben Hirsch Feivel, Isaac and Eda Novik in memory of his mother, Miriam Gittel Bas Chanoch Henach, a week of learning by Manny and Carol Meller in memory of his father, Tzvi Hirsch Ben Menachem Mendel, Leila Bessler in memory of her father-in-law, Bill Berish Ben Meshulam Shraga Fivish, Oscar and Shelley Moll in memory of his father, Shlomo Ben Yitzchak, and his mother, Rachel Bas Naftali. Today is the 4th, and we have a day of learning by Esther and Robert Boriskin in memory of her mother, Peril Bat Hirsch. And the Shemas have an Aliyah, Crank, Rafia, Shiva Shematzliah, Mechol B'nai Israel, Good Gaben Shtia.
Amen. Yeah. Maybe take him somewhere else.
What do you got?
I just sent around the psukim. It'll make it like people's life easier a little bit. I hope.
What's that?
The psukim here. You have a pair of cafes here. You'll see in a second. It'll make our lives easier. Make everybody easier. So we're at the top of the page, but I have to just pick up from yesterday. But yesterday when you asked me, I'm so sorry. You must have been asking me about the bird. Afterwards I walked out. I realized you were talking about by the bird. It's correct. By the carcass of a bird, of a kosher bird. So it's a double. Not only does it's interesting. No, it doesn't matame anybody by touching. When he eats it, he becomes tummy and his clothes. That's what you're talking about. You're right. Oh, so no, but I thought about you anyway. But at least no, but I thought about you afterwards. At least. That's Okay. If whoever's involved in Tosis, you'll see today is an example of what I said to you yesterday, and if you in the future we can work on it. There's a safer here. They can have a very famous book if you do what I'm doing. I'm glad. And I used to in the yeshiva for years. I used to hand out books. I have lists of books that would be in the Torah world would be monumental, would be bestsellers, and in the learning world. I have a list of books, assignments, but my students, I give them out all the time. Books that would, so this what I'm talking about now would be a monumental, wonderful book. In other words, all the places where Tosa speaks and Rashi doesn't, to show you how Rashi does, be a tremendous breakthrough. Anyway, today's an example. I'm not going to make sense of it, but I want to explain it. Yesterday, let me explain it outside, and then I'm going to say it inside to you. We're on a journey now to find the correct source. Okay, that Kfel. We said how we pay Kfel for all these different things, and we also are questioning whether Kfel is paid for birds. We know animals was on the list, and we saw inanimate objects was on the list, etc. And yesterday we proposed strongly that birds should be excluded. Why? Because as I said to you, the simple understanding of a klal and a prat and a klal, if the Torah gives a general rule, a particular general, we abstract the particular or the particulars into a paradigm, but a paradigm defined and limited by the detail. Fine. So yesterday we said, listen, since all of the animals on the list were animals whose carcasses are metame, make person tummy by touching, by carrying, by moving, etc., even without physical contact, that must be all things like that, which would be to the exclusion of what? To the exclusion of birds. Birds don't work that way. Birds only have this unique thing that only a kosher bird, and only when he eats it, and then amazingly himself and the clothes become tummy. Amazing. Okay, so he said it excludes birds. Then the Gemara said, 1 second, since you're abstracting, this is the important part, since you're abstracting all the details, one of the details was a garment. A garment isn't a corpse that can bring tumor, et cetera, all those things. So it must be, you don't have to worry about it, you can include birds. We said, get out of here. Why are you making a rule about living things from what? From a non-living thing. So Rashi says, watch it out. Now the Gemara is going to say in 1 second, which we didn't say yesterday. The Gemara says, because I could learn a klal and prat with each detail by itself. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? All of the Gemara, we don't do that. And Tosas yesterday, guys, we don't do that. We always take the group and we abstract the principle. So what I was saying now, whatever it is. So first of all, it's logical to say that I'm not going to include garments in the principle about living things. They're not living things. So why should I say a garment includes living things? And I'm telling you, it's a little bit not so much common sense. If you know what I'm saying. I was like, okay, you want to say it. So Rashi says, listen. He quotes a principle from later that we make a klal and prop with each detail again. Now we know that that's not always true. Okay, so watch how I'm going to say it now. The answer is listen. What gives me the right to say that a member of the group, is not included when I make the abstraction? What gives me the right to say it? So I'll tell you, because since theoretically, there's 2 ways that I can abstract a group. I take the whole group, put it in the chopper, and come up with a principle. Those way I put 1 and mark it down what it was. 2, mark it down. 3, mark it down. Then I add up all the things together and make a principle. What's the difference? If I do them this is me speaking. If I do it 1 by 1, I do it all at once. In the end, you're going to come up with a type of common denominator. What's the difference? The answer is because there's such a thing as doing it 1 by 1. That's what gives me a right to say that in the overall, I can exclude the garment. Why? Because it's inanimate. In other words, since I could do them 1 by 1, that's what gives me a right to look at it as the 3 living things and the non-living thing. The non-living thing tells me one thing, and the living things tell me their own thing. You understand? But they don't. But I don't have to look at it that way. Look at there. That was if you happen to be involved in Tosas here, you'll see the value of what I just said as opposed to Tosas. And okay, we can talk about it later. These things are. You're supposed to do this really, and I'm saying this with no irony or sarcasm at all. The great scholars, they would study all their lives, and when they were older, as some people get older, it happens, some people get older. When they were older, they would spend all their time working on the primary derivations of the midos. Working on the hermeneutic principles that we derive. They would say, I don't know that it's true, but they would say that to go on at the end of his life, to go on to Vilna, obviously who knew the whole Torah Kula, so he would just sit with a chumash. That was it. You understand? And in the words of the chumash, he saw absolutely everything was right there. He didn't need it. It was all he needed. He just sat there with it and just and saw everything. Every metric, everything was there. Okay, so we can talk about it. I think it would be a very nice thing, by the way. And and again, I'm saying quite seriously, regardless of any individual's particular prior accomplishment and learning, age gives you certain advantages. I'm quite serious. I don't know if I'll be allowed to talk about these things. Yeah, age has advantages. There's no question about it. Here, the Gemara says, I won't be late. Don't worry. Social Security. No, here the Gemara says the Gemara talks about, for example, here, it's here. The person has to know, has to remember things, and a person has to understand things. The Chassam Sofer says that youth and old age in Torah are both dependent on God. Why? Because when a person is young, they need divine help to be straight. You hear this? Because young people aren't straight. They haven't straightened out. It's hard to be straight. You're saying, so when you're young, you need divine providence. You understand? And you need Hashem's intervention, you understand, to keep you straight. And when you're older, you need help to remember. He says you always need. But my point is here, forget about the memory issues. You understand? There are tremendous advantages when a person's lived life. You understand? They've learned to, they have experience. Experience is worth billions. Experience is worth billions. They said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. That's right. You know the expression Rebbe Geld. You know that expression Rebbe Geld? That's a Jewish businessman. That's it. That is it. When you go into business, you first make all the mistakes. So what it's called? It's called Rebbe Geld. That's the price of experience. Yeah. You know, when I was 17, I opened up a few businesses in Israel, all failures, but I learned a lot quickly. You know, I in 2 minutes I learned. Yeah, yeah, that's number. No, we did one at a time, me and my friend, but we failed at each one. But we learned, we learned good lessons quickly. Yes, like here, for example, if you want to sell items to tourists, they shouldn't weigh 10 pounds. You see? We learned that pretty quickly. You understand? The average guy's not taking that back in a suitcase. You understand? Anyway.
17.
Yeah.
When I was 17, I was embarrassed at how stupid my father was. By the time I reached 21, I was amazed at how much man had worked for 4 years.
So that being said, you know, so because everyone has advantages from having lived life, it could be a wonderful thing to have a class here in the midos, in the principles. First of all, it's incredibly exciting. It really is. It's intellectually exciting. It's like acrobatics. It's exciting. It's interesting, and people who have experience in life have an advantage of being able to understand it better. There are nuances that they can understand. That here really, you know, they used to, when an animal with animals for the temple, we have called a mum. We have a blemish that disqualifies the animal, but we have to differentiate between a mum ovaris and a mum ain ovaris. A blemish that can pass is not, is different. It's not such a problem. So they used to say in Yerushalayim, they used to say that's a blemish that goes away. Don't worry, it'll pass on its own. Don't worry, it'll go away. Anyway, okay, that being said, so let's read inside. So yesterday we said, listen, I'm now going to the top of our page, but we're in the middle. Yesterday we said, so I have a right to look at the list and to exclude what? To exclude the garment and make the rule just from the living things. Don't let garments say that you don't have to be matame. See that you don't have to be matame. Let the living things say what? That you do have to be matame, and therefore birds are out. So continuing on the top of the page, the top of Samar Gimel, the top of Samar Gimel. So I'm reading now. Why is that? Because we're indeed proving what gave me the right to continue looking just at the animals on the list and excluding the garment. Here, that's what I just said to you. Because every single one, I make its own general, particular, general. As if it's general, particular, general 1, general, particular, general 2, and then add them up. So therefore what? And therefore what? We can put each one. The ox is one general particular. The donkey is one general particular. The sheep is one general particular. Avaloph is low, and therefore what? So therefore what? And birds are out. Now says the Gemara. And each one will learn its own thing. If that's really true, that you want to tell me what? That you want to tell me only things, living things, whose corpses can cause tumah by not only by touching, but by carrying, etc. Why did you have to write 3 different animals? Any one of those animals would have taught me the same thing. All those are things whose corpses are matame that way. Okay, it wouldn't have been a difference. So what is it? So the answer is, the Gemara says, 1 second, slow down. He says, so you've just written one. The Gemara says, no, you couldn't have written one. You had to write all 3. Which one do you think you could have written and succeeded? Because of Rahman, sure. Had the Torah written only an ox, I would have said, carve legabe mizbeach, and then I would have limited the rule to what? The things that can be sacrificed. Shein carve legabe mizbeach lo, but things that can't be sacrificed, no, which would have excluded what? A donkey. Well, donkeys have to be in. We said a donkey is included in things you have to pay for. The e-cost of Rachmana Chamor, had you written a donkey, okay, I would have known the principle of Tuma, okay. Havi Amina, I would have said Kaddish Bebechorein, but I would have taken a quality of a donkey that it can become a firstborn, yes. Shein Kaddish Bebechorein, but things that cannot become firstborn, okay, holy firstborn, no, that would exclude what? Deers and gazelles, I think they translate. You should know that you have to be careful. The word ayil and ayal are not the same word. And ayal is, I think they translate modern word as a gazelle. An ayal is a undomesticated animal, not a ayol. No. That's an ayal. That's what I was trying to differentiate. So when Rashi is talking about he's talking about ayol. With the comats, that's a gazelle, not a male. Yeah, that's the point. You're right, but that's why I had to make the point. Okay. Furthermore, okay, so then I would exclude it. Okay, so I'd exclude them. Therefore, what? So therefore, the Torah. So I had to write. I had to write it also. So okay. So okay. So therefore, what? So now the only thing is what? Right. He's not now. If that's true, okay, so then on the donkey, okay, I would know what I would only include what oxen and sheep, which can become firstborn, but I would exclude the undomestic animals like a deer or a gazelle. And therefore, the Torah also write ox. That from the fact that it wrote something extra, I also know even things that cannot be a bechor. And therefore, what I need everything there. Which one is extra? Amri, they said no. They said if that would work, okay, but the Torah could have just written ox and donkey. Why did I need to have sheep? Because that's extra to tell me what? Even birds. So now we're back into animals and inanimate objects and also birds for all those. If the person stole it and he gets caught, he has to what? He has to pay back.
A donkey's not a kosher animal.
Right, but a donkey can be right, but a donkey can become, right, but a donkey's it's not kosher. That's right, but it's included in the list. That's the point. You have to be kosher. You don't have to be this. He's included in the list. He was there to help us, to understand that all here. You're right, but you're right. Not no particular reason, but it's just extra. You're right. That's right. More generalization. You're right. But you're right. That particular word doesn't tell you that. It's just from being extra. That's right.
Didn't the donkey get included because they helped all the Jews?
That's another thing. Yeah, but I'm saying, but that's already you're talking a drush over here. But simply, we're just talking legally. That's the word.
Amo is a mule.
They have to talk about that. I have to get in contact with that. Yeah, come out usually. Okay. Anyway, the aim. Okay, now get ready. So now we've succeeded. So now we have everything on the list: animals and domestic animals, non-domesticated animals. We have the birds. We have everything in. I said 1 second, but still, maybe you can't go so far. The aim of maybe Latuya, or why did I say Latuya Ophir? You're right, but take the smallest novel point. Include birds, but maybe only kosher birds. Dumya desab, which are similar to a sheep. In other words, just like a sheep, what you used extra to learn birds, but a sheep does matame. So remember, unkosher birds don't make tuma. Their corpse doesn't make tuma. Only the kosher birds. Only the kosher bird when it wasn't tested. Only the kosher bird. But unkosher, maybe what? So maybe I should only talk about which birds you pay double for. Only a kosher bird, but a non-kosher bird not. Which we said, incredibly, that its corpse will matami, a person who eats it, matami them and their garments once it enters their throat. I will offer to mayim, but I said, but unkosher birds, the less mutum, which have no tum at all, the lo matami begadu basically they don't have that quality of being matami the person and his garments when he swallows it, when he puts it in his throat. Low. So how do I know if you stole somebody's crow or their peacock? How do you not have to pay double? Yeah.
So it's the same for the non-kosher animals. They don't have tuna as well.
No, they do. They do. I was only peacock kosher. So forget what I said. Give me a different example. And ostrich. I should say ostrich. Ostrich. Emu. Okay. No. So the answer is so I'm stuck now. So how do I know unkosher birds? How do I unkosher birds? The answer is what? Call ribuya. Look at my. Okay. You know what? You got me. I'm out. Drop. Yeah. What? Okay, so put the peacock back. But I know people hold the guinea fowl kosher. I know. I'll tell you how I know, because we had where I used to live, they had them every place, and they had in Israel they had a convention. And their goal was they had all these rabbis and kashrus experts. So they wanted to serve all the kosher things in the world. They had, they had the kosher grasshoppers and this, that. So they had one guy from North Africa who had a tradition on the peacock, the guinea fowl. He had a tradition.
There's a museum in Beit Shemesh.
Yeah.
I forget the rabbi's name.
Yeah.
He has all the kosher animals.
Yeah.
He actually sells dried grasshoppers that you can take home and eat.
Okay. So we'll put ostrich on, which everybody agrees. We'll put ostrich on, which everybody agrees is not kosher. We'll put ostrich on. Okay, now So watch out. Now we dropped the whole theory. We dropped it. We say, you know what? We're not going to learn with general, particular, general. Drop it. And we're going to say that this is unique because the pasuk says kol. Okay, now take a look. I gave you out papers here. Take a look at your paper. And I want to show you something. Please look at Pasala. It says, look, one, you know, kill the guy, breaks in. Etc. Pasuk Gimel, if they'll find the stolen thing in their hand, Mishor ad chamor ad sechayim, from an ox to a donkey to a living sheep, Shnai Mishal, he has to pay what? Double. Now go to Pasuk Vav. So that's a clear law that a thief has to pay double. Look at Pasuk Vav. A guy will give his friend kesef or kelim to guard the guna b'eisish, and it's stolen. If the thief is found, he pays twice. Now what's going on here? We have to talk about it. Okay. Right. No, right. Yeah. If we don't find the thief, then the owner comes to the judges. It sounds like what he has to swear. We have to talk about it. He has to swear. He has to come for judgment that he didn't do wrong. The guardian. Okay. I'll call number pesha. This is the big pasuk we're going to do in a minute. For any kind of iniquity, I'll shore on an ox, a chamor, a donkey. I'll say here the sheep. I'll salmon. There's all things. The garment. I'll call aveda on any lost thing. Asher Yomar, who he says, this is it. The words of each shall come to the judges. Asher Yashun Elohim, and that the judges will find guilty. Yishalim Shnaim L'Rei, who pays twice. So now, this further goes over more Watchman. So you see, there's like 3 psukim here, which are all involved with the double. We don't know what's going on. So to make one part easy, you realize that, remember, the original theft was by the original theft. That we paid double for only mentioned animals. If you look in Pasuk Gimel, the original double was only animals. So for sure, I'm going to need the later Pasuk to include inanimate objects and other things, etc. All the details I'm going to need. So we have to juggle which Pasuk is talking about a thief, which talking about a guy who was a watchman who claimed it was stolen. And we have 3 psukim here to juggle. What are they doing? So that's what's going to happen next. Okay, so now watch. So we're going to drop the old theory. We'll drop the old theory for the moment. I'm going to say, forget about this general, particular general. There's a word. Sometimes Torah just amplifies. When I say to you, everything that happens here is libel. Everything is everything. I don't have to sit down and say it doesn't include this. Everything means everything. What's the problem? So now, what do we do? So we say, Kol Rebuyu. Yeah, the first word in that pasuk, the first word in pasuk ches, I'll call davar pesha, etc. Kol is an amplifier, and it includes everything. Forget about it. Everything's in, including birds and etc. No problem. That's beautiful. I love that you do that. It's beautiful. It's most beautiful. Call heicha the kosav. So one second. Slow down. You just made a rule that we never heard of. Since when is every call an amplifier rather than a generalization? You just ripped me out. You said, no, call stops you from generalizing and makes an amplification. Where'd you get that from? I'm going to show you one of the most classic cases. It's not true. Where's the classic case? Here. Okay, call heicha, the cost of kol ribuya. Every time it says everything, it's an amplifier, and you don't generalize. He says, gabi meiser. When it came to meiser sheni, when a person has to bring to Shalim and eat it, or if it's too heavy, he transfers it to money, he brings the money to Shalim, and he buys food. Kol, and it's talking about what's he allowed to buy with, what's he allowed to get to eat in Yerushalayim. So it says kol because over there we do use the word, the principle of general, particular, and general, and we don't say kol just means everything, but rather what you're gonna have to abstract the detail and make that the paradigm. He says why? He says Tanya, because we learned here when it came to Meiser Sheni, it says you should put the money in your hand, and you should spend the money on anything that your soul desires, in cattle, sheep, wine, beer, and everything that your soul desires. And we learned it as a general, particular general. You should put the money, spend the money, whatever your soul desires, called general. The book of it, when it said details, cattle, sheep, wine, beer, prat, that's a detail. Everything that your soul desires, klal, that's again a general. Klal, general, particular general. So you only judge an abstraction from the details. You make it into a paradigm. Ma prat maforish pri. Just like in the details, it's a fruit from a fruit. An animal comes from an animal. The wine comes from the grape. Everything's the fruit from the fruit. Okay, number one. And number two, v'giduli karka, everything is sustained from the ground, whether it's the fruit, whether it's the thing that grows from the ground, or the animal that eats the things that grow from the ground, but they're all called growing from the ground. Okay, so everything has to be something that's a fruit from a fruit, v'giduli karka, things that are grown up, nourished by the ground, and to the exclusion of what? That's what you can buy. To the exclusion of what? You can't spend your Ma'aser Sheni money not on salt, not on the mushrooms. I think of truffles. Okay, those things, and those are not fruits. And that's the same on the ground. You're not letting spend the Ma'aser money. So what do you say? How can you tell me kol should be an amplifier and don't learn general, particular, general? You see that we do. It's classic. We do. I'm really saying no. Look at the difference. Bechol, he says kol. Over there by Ma'aser Sheni, he says what? On anything, in anything. When it's with a base, that's a general rule. Kol, when it just says kol, all, that is an amplifier, and that's what we did. Alternatively, another reason why I can say it. You know what? I'll even admit to you. Kol klalu, I can even admit, forget the base trick. Okay, all could also be a general and not an amplification. But miu kol dahacha rebuyu, but kol here, by virtue of its context, I know that it's an amplifier and not a general, particular general. Why? Okay, why? Mikadi, because take a look. See me, Kara. Look, he already wrote to me in the same chapter. You can look at your paper. You already wrote a klal, uprat, uklal. Here, look, you learn. Ki tein ish pasuk vav. Ki tein ish are'ehu pasuk vav. But a guy will give his friend kasaf or kalim, money or utensils, lishmar to watch v'gulu v'beisaish, v'beisaish. If the ganav is found, he has to pay double. And if the ganav is not found, they have to go, etc. to the they have to go to the judges and swear that he didn't take anything. And so how do we learn that? So that pasuk is ki tinisharehu klal. If a man will give to his friend, that was a general. Kesef or keli, money or silver, silver or money or utensils, prop, that's a detail. Lishmar, to guard, hadar v'kala, new general. So now that earlier section was general, particular general. If you want to see the pasuk that we were looking at, pasuk ches, I'll call the repassion. If you want to say that's also general, particular general, he says it wasn't necessary. He says what? He says that all the details that you would have gained for the abstraction in pasuk ches, just write them in the earlier pasuk. Just write them in the earlier one, and you would have gotten the whole principle. Why would Hashem waste the whole pasuk? You already had a general, particular general. Stuff the details from here into there. You would have made the same conclusion. You don't need it. That's why I know to read, well, I'll call the repesha. So what do I need this word? I'll call the repesha. It must be amplified. Something here, because I don't need it. I don't need to analyze. If you analyze the text, the guy could have done the job more neatly, and we assume that he would have if he didn't mean to do something else. The answer is he didn't mean for this to be a klal product. Klal, he meant for it to be what? To be a generalization. Did I? Well, let me see what I just read. 1 second here. Let me Lishmar. Let's say here. Yes, Lishmar is a new. Yes, Lishmar is considered a generalization. Okay. Yeah. What would it be? Right. I see. Right. You. Good point. I saw your face. That's a good point. What's the logic of making it a generality? That's a good point. Okay, we have to talk about it. That's a little beyond my scope at the moment, but that's right. You're correct. I agree. There was a rabbi. I loved him. He was the expert in the Chassam Sofer in the whole world. Yeah, well, he was in the whole world. I used to go to him. I loved him. I went when I was young till I was older, and every time I came to him, he'd come to the door, and he'd say, "What is it?" I said, "I have to ask something." And he would look at me and say, "Why are you coming to me? Why are you coming to me?" So I would say, my Rebbe sent me. He said, "Oh, your Rebbe sent you to come." But anyway, and I would come in, his table would always be full of books, always full of books. And he would look at me, he'd close all of his books, 5, 6 books, close them all. And he'd look at me as if I was the number one most important thing in the world and say, "What is it?" And I never forgot it. because I was a know nothing from nowhere. I said, this guy was a massive Talmid Chacham. Yes. But anyway, one time, I'll tell you a story because I'm not late. One time, this is all important. One time I was, yeah, he was the head of Chassam Sofer in Yerushalayim. He's the one, he edited all the Chassam Sofers over there. He lived right by Kikar Shabbos, right by the epicenter of Menesheim, just up the street a little bit. So one time, my brother and I were learning Gittin, and we were learning a Tosfos, and the Tosfos, we learned the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer was very enlightening, but at the end of the Chassam Sofer, essentially contradicted the entire Tosfos. It utterly made no sense whatsoever. So we asked the base matters, we asked people, nobody could answer us. So finally, when I exhausted the possibilities, we decided that we knew that this Goldstein was the world's expert in the Chassam Sofer. So I went to his house and I sat down. He closed all the books. He says to the assistant to listen 100%, and he listens to our problem in the text of the Chassam Sofer. He says 1 minute. He opens up the Gemara and he reads over the Gemara and the Tosfos several times, and he looks up. He says, he sees it's a problem. He says, so do you want to correct the text of the Chassam Sofer? You want to edit the text? He says. I said, no, I don't want to edit the text. I want to understand it. He gives me a smile, the size of the Grand Canyon. He's so happy I'm not a smart aleck. You understand? Because usually everybody's a whippersnapper. They want to come in and rewrite everything. He said, he gives me a big smile. And he put his head down and he learned for about 10 minutes. And he looked up, he had a thick accent. He looks up, he says, he says, you're right, he says. Ani maski makusha. He says, I agree with the difficulty. He says, I never saw him again. That was my fault. I never saw him again. But he said that he was beautiful. But so I want to say to you, Ani maski makusha. That's what I tell you. I agree here. But you have to know that but here's the only point. In extras, when you dash something extra or yitur, it's not always connected to the word. Sometimes it's just the type of common sense of what's next. What will be the next thing to be included? But you're right. So I agree with the kasha. We have to work on it. Okay. Now, so far so good. Now. Dem should bless you. Okay, Hashta Damata call. So now the Gemara says, so now we're okay. So we're in business. So we've defended our idea. Everything's included for Kfel, animate, inanimate, everything. All right. Hashta Damata call. He says, Rebuya. Now that you're saying call is a reboy, Chalari Prati Lamali. But then 1 second. So why did I need all the details? The ox and the donkey and the sheep. What's going on over here? The answer is, what was it doing there? The answer is, don't worry. These I can explain. One excludes land. Okay, similar to what we did before. That if stealing land, you don't pay double. One to exclude slaves. Okay, slaves you don't pay double. But and also if you stole a star, like we learned earlier, a star you don't pay double. Okay, for the star. Salma. Okay, what do you need garment for? The muti double kedim assume. This is machlokas. We'll read like Rashi. A garment represents something that's identifiable. Not like today, everything's mass produced. We buy our clothes off the rack. They made their garments. Our clothing is identifiable. Okay, look at the Rabbi Chiya he said, okay. Now a kolabeda. What do I need at the end? The end, what am I going to do with that extra? I'm not using that to generalize anymore. What's the last expression of the pasuk for any lost object? Because Rabbi Chiya this is the Chiddush. Rabbi Yochanan, he said, let's say a guy was a watchman. And he said, like we learned before, up until now we learned if a guy's a watchman, he said something was stolen, it turned out he's a liar and he stole it, he pays double, we'll see. But what if he found the lost object, which he's obligated to guard, and then he said, I found your object, but it was lost. Pardon me, but I'm sorry, but it was stolen. I found your thing, but it was stolen. Okay, Mishan Tashmi Kefa comes to tell me that even though you would think not, that even though he claimed that he doesn't pay double, the answer even when a guy says that a lost object was stolen, okay, he still has to pay double. Okay, get ready. This is a Mishnah much later in Baba Kama. Hey, one guy says to the other guy, hey, where's my deposit? I gave you something to watch. Where is it? Well, he says to him, oh, but it got lost. What happens? Mashbiachani. So I want you to swear. The owner has the right to make him swear. And he says, Omar Amen. Okay, he says, Amen, I swear. Yep. That's considered a vow. Okay, and then witnesses come shachlo. Then witnesses come say he's a liar. He took it. He consumed it. He ate it up. And he has to pay. One, he has to pay the principal. Okay, has to pay the principal. Hold up, al piatzmo. If he admitted himself, okay, and the Adam knows that he lied and that he ate it. Anybody who swore and himself admits that he lied, he pays the principal. He pays an extra fifth, okay, to the owner, and he has to bring also a sacrifice. Another case, the guy says, "Where's my deposit that I gave you?" The guy says it was stolen. Okay, you know, it's not. It was lost. It was stolen. I want you to swear that it was stolen. He says, I swear it was stolen. And witnesses testify that he's a liar. He stole it. Now he has to pay double because he's the thief. Okay. But if after he swore what he admitted by himself and the witnesses didn't come, and he pays the principal plus a fifth, and has to make a sacrifice. I learned in all events what when a guy who's a watchman said it was stolen, and he turns out to be the thief, he pays double. But you notice in that mission we saw when he claimed it was lost, he doesn't pay double. That's an argument. We'll see. But even when he does claim it was stolen, it's only what when he swore that he pays double. Without a vow, he doesn't. Remember the first pasuk that we saw at the beginning of the prayer, there was no vow involved. So we had two big chidushim here from this Mishnah. Number one, double is only if the watchman claimed it was stolen, not if he claimed it was lost. And even if he claimed it was stolen, okay, he only pays double if he swore, and not if he didn't swear. Okay, now, where did I get all these? These are very interesting details. Where did I learn them from? So we're going to see two brises. The Tana Rabbanan, we learned in one brisa. Okay, if the ganav, the words we usually just say if the ganav is found, but if he turns out to be the ganav, he turned out to be the thief. He has to pay double. But that's where a guy was a watchman, and he said what? And he said that it was stolen. Okay, that's what we're talking about. And what it says, means if it turns out that he himself is a thief, is it really where he claimed that it was stolen? Oh, maybe it's a case where he himself was a thief. It wasn't a watch where he just stole it. The Gemara says, when it says if they will not find the thief, okay, so that's clearly what. But as we'll see later, that's clearly a guy who was what? Who was claiming that it was stolen, and therefore we say it's the same thing in the previous passage. Okay, now okay, we learned in a different brisa. That was one brisa. We learned in a different brisa. If the ganav will be found, beganav atzma customer daber. No, that pasuk is talking about a regular thief, not a watchman who claimed it was stolen. Ata omer beganav atzma. Is it really by the thief himself? Oh, eno ella betoin tanas ganav. Maybe it's by a watchman who claimed that it was stolen. Omer im lo yimatzeh ganav. Since afterwards it says what if the ganav will not be found. It's that later pasuk is where he's claiming it. He's a watchman. So what's the previous pasuk talking about? The ganav must be the thief himself. And remember the previous ganav in the beginning of the parak was only talking about animals. We started to know all the other details. Good. The kuli almamiyas. Which price is about which price you hold? Whether you learn that both psukim are talking about a watchman who claimed it was stolen, or one was by a regular thief and one was by a watchman. The Kuli Alma Miyas at all events, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees that pasuk, the later pasuk, is talking about what? Where he claimed it was stolen. It was a watchman. My mashma. How did you see that pasuk meant that? Okay, Amar Rabbi says Im lo yimatzeh. Okay, since it says what? If he won't be found, what does that mean? Kamash Omer, if it won't be found like he said, if it won't be found like he said, but what? Okay, but he's the thief. So I see what? Yisham Shami pays double. So I see clearly the way the words go, it means that what? It was the guy who claimed that it was stolen. Not yet, unless there's one I'm missing. Not yet. Not yet. Unless there's something, unless I'm missing something, but not yet. We know in the Bishua, that was in the, how do I know also that what? That when you claim it, you only pay double if you swore, unlike a regular old thief. Okay, the Tanya, I'll tell you how I know. The Nikra Balabayas Elohim, it says what? That the owner is going to come to the judges, Elohim, okay, to the judges, the Dayanim, okay? Lishavua, what's he coming for? He's coming to swear. How do you know it's coming to swear? Maybe just coming to judge the case. The answer is what? Never shlichas yad lamata. Before it talked by Shomer Sachar. Later on, it tells by Shomer Sachar. It talks about what? About misappropriating it, and it says that there's gonna, and where it says there, it says what? Shuas Hashem Tia. There's going to be a vow. V'nemer shlichas yad lamala. And over here it says what? Also misappropriating. Okay, so I say thing malahalan, just like later. L'shavua, misappropriating is connected with a vow. Afkan, so here, when he went to the judge, it must be the shavua for a vow. Now, everything makes sense. We had two brides. Remember, one learned both psukim as a watchman claiming theft. One learned one pasuk as a regular thief, and one pasuk as a watchman claiming theft. Bishlama, it makes sense. Lemanda Amar Chad Beganav Bechad Betanis Ganav. The one who says the one pasuk was a regular thief getting caught, and the other was a watchman claiming it was stolen who got caught being the thief. I knew the thief trade car. I understand why I had to psukim. Okay, because there were two different laws. Lemanda Amar. But the rights that said what? That they're both talking where it was a watchman who claimed it was stolen. Trey Carmelamali, why didn't he to psukim? How many said, don't worry. One is to exclude, one of them is extra to tell me what? That when do you pay double? When he claimed it was stolen. But if he claimed it was lost, even though it turned out that he was the thief, he doesn't pay double. Now, according to the opinion that one pasuk was talking about a thief and one was talking about a guy who claimed it was stolen, when neither one was extra. So if none was extra, so how did he know that if the watchman claimed it was lost, even though he turned out to be the thief, that he doesn't pay double? Where do we know from? The answer is miganav ha ganav, because it says the ganav. The hay is extra. The hay is extra. The hay is extra. Okay. So according to the one that says both of them are tainus ganav, the mi'et lay a tainus avan. And because it was double, he was already able to exclude the watchman who claimed that it was lost from paying double. Ganav ha ganav madosh. What does he do with the extra hay? What is he going to explain? He'll say to you, he needs it for this drasha. If a guy claims that a deposit by him was stolen, he pays double. And if the same guy shechted it or sold it, he pays 4 and 5. Remember, that point was debated whether such a person pays 4 or 5. He's going to learn from the extra hay that not only can he be obligated for the double, he could also be obligated for the 4 and 5. So then 1 second, according to the one who holds it, one pasuk was by a real thief, and one was by a watchman who claimed it was stolen and turned out to be the thief. The God of Afke, okay, where he had already used the hay to exclude Tainus Abad when the guy claimed it was lost. The Rabbi Chia Bar Abba Minoli, where's he going to get the din of Rabbi Chia Bar Abba that a watchman who claimed it was stolen could be obligated on 4 and 5? Amarle Hekeshu, don't worry. That can be done by a simple apposition with an A. When the Torah puts two things in apposition, makes the textual comparison, you're allowed to transfer laws without any big deals. And listen to this, the A Mishivan Alakesha, even though what we could ask a big kasha on it, we don't ask it. Why? Because the rule of Hekesh is once the Torah puts things in apposition, we compare them and we don't even do what we usually say this, they're different, one's more stringent, one's less. We don't care. And we could say here, one's more stringent than the other. We don't bother. Bishlama, let me get one more thing. We'll see. Bishlama, Shapir. Okay, the one who said what the one pasuk was Ganav and one was the watchman who claimed it was a Ganav. Everything makes sense. Okay, why we had two psukim. Elamando Amartar Vayu between Tanis Ganav. Okay, but the one who says both of them were only a watchman who claimed it was stolen. Ganav Asminoli. Now, where do I know a thief? Now, 1 second. I just showed you where you know a thief, folks, at the beginning of the parak. But I answered you why. Because at the beginning of the parak, we only know a thief who stole an animal pays double. What about all the other details we learn later? So how do we? Since now all the psukim of later, you expended, you already spent those on what? On a watchman. So how do you know that a regular old thief who wasn't a watchman is going to pay double for all the details that we learn later by the psukim that you say are only for what? Are only for a watchman? Okay? Don't worry. You say, I'll learn it by a Kal V'chomer from a watchman who claimed it was stolen. It's not going to work. Why? You can never learn by a Kal V'chomer something more severe than the source that you learned it from. Then you're going to be in trouble because what? Because the watchman was only obligated to pay double when he swore. But we said the rule of a normal thief is he doesn't swear to have to pay double. So I'm not going to be able to learn out. So where it says, okay, and this we'll pick up tomorrow already where we do get it from. That will do tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah, Rabbi said, if you thought this page is complicated, it is. It is. It's technically. Yeah. 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 Yes. Oh, that why did we? Why? That's a good question. Let's think for a second. Because we said yesterday, we said so. Kaka. Why did I need? And I got to think. You're right because before we said we never. Before we always said it was automatic. You're right. Okay, good point. I'll try and look. Somebody's got answers, but we'll look. Good question. You're right.
But Rabbi Green, you mentioned before that some of the Solomon get everything from the Chumash. They see what they're Muslim. My Bachar was born on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So the opinion of Ben was Russell Flashman what happened the week before.